are live in effect. Today I'm going through the song that I've been working on and just make sure a couple of settings is right first before we get right. I kind of want my mic to be a little lower than what the music is going, so y'all can really hear what's going on. Plus I have outside music, so yeah, we in there, we lit. Yeah, I think everything is okay. So what I'm working on today is this track here. And it's kind of a lot going on, but I'm gonna break it down for y'all. So it should say I'm live right now. I'm checking to make sure I'm live. That's what I'm doing. I'm checking to make sure I'm live. Hey, my guy, Mr. Cartucci, in the fucking building. Yeah, we good. I like that latency on there too. That shit is fire. So I just want to make sure everything's sounding good. I just need my space. Now, dang, I wish I could. I wish there was more like I could do to so y'all can hear the sound or whatever. But we gonna do it. We gonna figure this out. I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay, shit, be patient. Roll another blunt, I'm getting stuck in my ways. I need my space, I gave my hand, these niggas handed me shade, yeah. 212 stickers in the back, up and black. If I ever get the chance, I gotta hit from the back. Wake up and thank God that I'm breathing. Everything that's promised has a season. Niggas cutting. Alright, so I'm gonna start off with the hook. We're gonna start off with the hook and break that down, and then I can show y'all what's going on. I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city. So I'm coming over here, I'm soloing this, so that way I'm only hearing the part that I want to hear, you know. I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay, be patient. If y'all stick to the end, I'll show y'all how to do those little beat screws and everything like that within the program. Quick disclaimer, I am working in Pro Tools. A lot of these techniques can be done in any DAW that you have, so don't be discouraged. Just take what you learn and just, you know, apply it to whatever DAW that you have. So what I'm doing here, I am sending all of my vocals, or my main vocals, like the vocals you're mostly hearing, to like what we call an aux track, but right now we're using that aux track as what we call a bus track. So we're taking this aux track here on aux 1, and that is essentially our main vocal preset. And what I'm doing here with this main vocal, I'm actually gonna bypass all the little
plugins and everything, just so y'all can get a sense of what shit is sounding like. You're not even gonna hear my vocals really when I take this off. You're gonna be like, what the fuck, bruh? I can't hear shit, bruh. But it's okay, cause that's the whole purpose. You can't hear shit that I'm saying, goddamn. I told you, like. So usually when I'm starting off, I have another bus track. I call it Prada, whatever. I just put some random ass name, but that's what I got here. It's going through my synth track, which is essentially another aux track, using it as a synth. And what I'm using the synth for is to push my dry sound up through coming through this main aux. Let's mute this beat a little bit.
I can't even call this shit a race. Yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay.
See how y'all can barely hear that? See it? That's just step one. And what I want to do, I have this all the way down here. I usually have it closer to whatever is going on. But what you're doing with this, essentially, I'm jerking this up and show y'all what's going on. So what you're doing with this, essentially, is basically, and I put this compressor on there, push those dry vocals, 18, input, output, and then you want your attack to be fast, so you want that at 1, as low as you can get it. You want your release, that's usually going to stay the same, about 5, 6, you know. You want your ratio at 20. You want to be able to see your GRs. So, essentially what I'm doing, I'm pushing these vocals here, send it to the aux track, and I'm pushing this up. I like to have my shit about negative 18, negative 19. Sometimes I gotta push it a little bit more, but I'm usually using it just to get that sound that's like, what is it? Like I said, a dry sound. So you know how we talk person to person. That's what I'm looking for. You wanna kind of get that into the mix. After I do that, actually it's probably like the last thing I do, but I'm showing it as the first thing. The first thing I usually do is throw on me an EQ. Real basic EQ. This is actually a stock EQ. I'm using the preset vocal cleanup, and depending on how my vocals are coming in, I change, you know, my dips and my frequencies depending on if the vocals are like deeper or brighter vocals. You don't want your bright vocals to be too bright, because then it's gonna sound too thin, and you're gonna be like, yeah, this shit sound good. When you play it in another system, you're gonna be like, bruh, I can barely hear anything. So you don't want your vocals to be too thin. Next thing I do is I throw on a compressor. So you got your EQ, you got your compressor. That's just to clean up vocals just slightly, and then I throw out a compressor. I'm also using another preset called vocal comp, which is vocal compression. And I hardly ever touch the knee. My ratio, I usually keep that at 3.5. Sometimes I might bring it down to 2.5. If I need a little bit more, squish those vocals in, I'll bring it up to about 5, you know, or 5 even, depending on what's going on. My attack and release, I'll leave it the same. My gain, I pushed it up to about 19, because it's at 8 when you first put it in, and I want my vocals to push and stand at a certain level. So I'm throwing other shit on there. So with that, you got this.
I just need my space, roaming through the city like a space. Yeah. I can't even call this shit a race. Yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta.
See, I got no GRs coming in on this compressor. That's gonna change. That's changing automatically. If I go back to here, to my little power, you'll see it rising.
I just need my space, roaming through the city.
And with this, you really don't want it to go over -3. If it's going past -3, maybe you need to do something in your vocals to bring that down a little bit, or just bring down the meter over here a little bit. You know.
I just need my space, roaming through the city like a space.
And I'll show y'all how that's.
I can't even call this shit a race.
Since we got a little.
Roll another blunt, I gotta pay.
So you see how that does a big difference within your vocals or whatever. It sounds more full. It sounds already without even me putting other plugins on it. So at this point, I'm probably gonna see where my vocals sit over the beat, just to see, all right, what else I gotta put on here. This is my vocal chain. Sorry, I do this all the time. So this is something I really don't have to think about as often.
I just need my space, yeah. Running through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah.
So I'm listening to that, I'm like, okay, my vocals sound pretty good. I can push those up a little bit more. So what I do next, I throw in another EQ. This is the Fab Filter EQ. I really love these plugins. They are fucking fire. Like, they are fucking fire. Once I realized, like, yo, these plugins, I was just like, yo, it's another level, nigga. Like, but
I just need my space, yeah.
So with this EQ, I'm basically shaping my vocal. My first one was to clean up those muddy areas and stuff like that I don't really want in the vocal. And this one is to cut out some more of those muddy areas, but also boost those frequencies that need to be boosted that really make the vocal, you know, especially on the beat. And one thing I like about this plugin is that it shows you where your vocals are at on the piano scale. So you can really take these dots over here and push them over to the piano scale to actually match up note for note, you know, whatever key you're in, put them on the key that you're in, and then it's just like perfect. It's like perfect EQ right there.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space.
Mind you, I have not added reverb. I haven't added, you know, delays or any of that stuff yet. So this is just like kind of what we call in the industry world, in the engineering world, my fault, dry vocals in a sense. So when you go to a studio and they're like, oh, we're gonna give you a basic dry vocal mix, this is what they're talking about. You're gonna get some EQs and some compressors. You might get a little bit of fucking delays, but you know, it's just to sparkle up to bring you back, you know.
I just need my space, yeah.
I might be saying too much right there, but fuck it.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even talk.
Once I throw that EQ in, my next thing is to throw in another compressor. And what I'm using here is a V-Comp, probably one of my favorite compressors besides the stock compressor that comes with Pro Tools. So this V-Comp is a Waves plugin, and I just fucks with it so hard. The lead vocal preset in this plugin is fucking phenomenal. It usually comes in with your vocals being at a -3, +2, and that's alright. So most of the time, depending on what artist I'm using, I take this back to 0 dBs and I put this at 0 dBs, so that way I'm getting like that solid flat sound. And then what I like about this plugin is that it has a limiter and it also has a de-esser in it already, so I really don't have to do much when it comes to putting a limiter on there and a de-esser. So when I'm putting my de-esser on, I don't really have to do as much in my last step, so making the vocal clean and crisp. So I usually keep this at fast. If I have my limiter on, I usually put it at +12 because I don't want my vocals to be peaking over a certain level. Sometimes I put it at +10 just for the same reasons, but maybe the vocal needs to be a little bit lower into the mix. It might have that good sound, but it might be too loud, and that could be a problem. I hear mixes where it sounds good, but the vocals are just too loud, and I'll be like, bro, you need to cut them shits down.
I just need my.
Oh yeah, and I keep my ratio for this compressor at 4:1, or I bring it up to 3:1, because we already got the first compressor in the beginning doing a lot of work, low key. So it's like two compressors. We're minimalizing the work that they're doing, so that way we get the results that we want.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay, be patient.
So once we have that, what I like to do is I like to go back over to the Waves plugins, and we have the CLA vocals. A lot of engineers don't like this plugin for some reason. It's a perfect multi-chain in my eyes. It has the compressor, bass, treble, and if you already tweak your EQ and everything, and your other compressors right, it's like, oh, it just puts a little sparkle on there. You know, it's just like, oh, you don't need much with this compressor, but it definitely does justice to your vocals, and that's what I think a lot of engineers do. They overuse this in a sense, and it really doesn't have to be overused, especially if you're putting all this other stuff on it, because that's where you get all that air and everything that's going on in your vocals, and you don't want that background air, so you're like, oh, and then you can hear that over the beat and everything.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah.
So that you can already hear it. It brightened up my top end. It brought up my lower end, and like, you know, made it sound more crispy and clear on top of everything that I got going on. What I like to do with this compressor, with this multi-chain, my fault, is that it has 3 different compressors in it, and these compressors I use them as like I kind of use it as an EQ in a sense, kind of like listening to like where how much of the frequencies is bringing in and how much is taken out and what it's doing actually to the vocal, and each one of these have different effects to your vocals. So depending on what I need particularly for that song, if I'm singing, then I'm more likely to put this on spank or push, because I can push my vocals into where I need them, and spank, it kind of the same thing, but it's more like bringing up that mid range and like sitting you right there in the mix where you kind of need to be. Always throw my reverb all the way at the bottom. It's like all the way at the end. You know, you don't need that much reverb because we're gonna add more reverb on the back end, which is gonna be our solidified like reverb for the whole, like all our vocals to be on. So we kind of create that space. You kind of gotta create that space within, you know, your vocal mixes for your vocals to be there. You know, you ever be like thinking like, oh, this song would sound good, you know, if my vocals sounded like I was in a fucking auditorium, or my vocals sound like I'm in the studio, or my vocals sound like, you know, I'm in the fucking train station, or whatever you want your vocal, like the setting, you know, you want your song to be in. And that's why I feel like what the reverb is for. Like, you know, you on stage, you doing live band recording and stuff like that. You want your vocals to sound like it's live. So that's what I feel like the reverb is there for, you know, just to create that space. Then you have your delay. Always put a slap delay because that's just the best delay to have. You know, it's just the best delay to have. And while I'm here on delay, what you want to do when you're doing delays is you want to make sure up here, in this little section up here. Let me move my what's the name real quick. Minimize me a little bit. Yeah. So what you want to do when you're doing these delays, you want to go up here at the top and click this, right? And if your little conductor on here is blue, you need to cut him off. And what you want to do is click this little tempo here, and on your keyboard you can tap the letter T to tap your tempo in. But if you already know your tempo, you can click this, you can double click it, and you can actually type in your tempo or whatever, because you want your tempo to be right, so that way all your delays are right, because your plugins are basing everything off your tempo in your session. So I like that slap delay. It's real, you know, it's like that, like gives you that echo effect kind of in a way, but I like to bring that all the way down, so it's kind of like not even being heard down there, but you hear it, but you don't hear it. And then I like to either have my pitch on a spreader. It spreads my vocals out a little bit over the stereo field, or I'll go in the stereo. Now usually if I'm using stereo, I'll bring this down damn near how I have the reverb, because that stereo gives you kind of that chorusy sound, and you don't really want that, because when you play it in the car, you're gonna be like, well, this is not what I heard in studio. So my next thing, this is actually a new plugin I started using. I just like the sound of it, it's another CLA, but it's unplugged.
Daddy,
And
look,
what
I'm doing this.
Good job, Kyle. Oh, sorry. But, what you're gonna do after? Oh, people calling me. Well, I like this plugin. Basically, it's just like perfect for like those. I use it for like a reverb delay. It's like a perfect reverb delay kind of plugin because it gives you the option to do a pre-delay, right? And that pre-delay can be before or after. And most people like it after. You know what I'm saying? So you see, it got the bass in the treble. I put my bass up a little bit because I know what that's gonna do to my vocals. And then I have my reverbs 1 and 2. I have those down low because, like I said at the beginning, with the CLA vocals, we have our reverb low, so that way it doesn't affect our main reverb that we're going to put on later on, which is this hall right here that I have bypassed. Oh, excuse me. Now that is my other reverb that I'm using now for my main track. But what I like to do here, I like to throw this into a canyon, and it just gives you that space, the like that tail reverb that a lot of people like. And then I throw this into a hall, which it's like a lot of stuff you hear in like rap vocals where they're like yelling, or like what Travis Scott does when he does his ad libs, and you hear them like yeah, and it's like echoing long as fuck. And that's basically what that is. That's that hall reverb, you know. In order to accomplish that, you might want to put it on hall and large and turn it up a little bit. Drop your vocals down into that reverb.
How you get
So,
out here?
I don't know. I don't know. You gotta figure it out. I'm live right now. You can't interrupt me. Sit down. Little man trying to asking about his game. I don't know. I've never owned a Nintendo Switch, so I don't know. Let's go into this. I need to see if some people are commenting or whatever.
Daddy! Yeah.
Content. It doesn't show that I'm live right now. That's so okay. Okay. Dang. So, let's get back into it.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay, said be patient.
So I can hear the difference between putting that CLA unplugged on there and not. And as you can also see, I have it down. I had cut the output down to negative 2.9, which is supposed to be like -3, but it worked. So what I'm doing is I'm throwing these effects on there, and I cut it down basically, so I'm not taking away from what I already did. That's where when I say the vocals can be too loud, that's when the vocals can be too loud, because this Unchained, it definitely boosts your vocals up like crazy.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay.
So once I do all of that, that's basically
go
my chain. Okay, Cairo, sit down, okay? So after I do all of that, what I throw on is my de-esser. Now this is Fat Filter de-esser. I really love these these plugins, like I said before, they have a lot of plugins in here that's just I've never heard anything like them before. They really do the job. But their de-esser has a lot of options in them that I really like that most de-essers don't have, which is very convenient. So once
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pace, said be patient. I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pace, said.
once I got my de-esser in there, what I like to do with this de-esser is because I use a lot of syllables in my vocals. I try not to. I try to really close my words and actually say the words as best as I can. So usually when you're coming in here, you have these presets up at the top. You have male, single vocal type things. You know, mastering, which is all kinds of presets. I'm not even thinking right now. So what I like to use, depending on if it's a male or a female, and sometimes I might use two of these depending on what the sound. You know, some people talk more with a lisp and some people don't, so you don't really need it as much depending on the vocalist. So it's myself, so I use the male spit. So with that, and then it's usually in a single vocal. What single vocal does is basically kind of makes your vocals a little bright, like keeps your vocals bright. But in this sense, I didn't want my vocals to be too bright, and that's another problem with a lot of home studios. They have their vocals way too bright, and it's like, damn, bro, this shit sound almost nasally. So what I like to do, I like to round all around. So it's like de-essing it all together. You know, the whole speech. You know what I'm saying? And then I put it on split band, and I like to have this my frequency range for my de-esser within like closer to the end, in a sense. So, and you can close this more or less depending on how much you need de-essing or what section of the frequency you need to be de-essed, because some people's S's are in different frequencies and some people's syllables are in other frequencies. So it really depends. So once I throw that de-esser on,
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space.
we're gonna do a little.
Yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pace, said.
So you see, it takes that extra syllables out of my vocals, so it got that cleaner sound going on. Once I do that, we go straight into what I call the noise gate. Everybody uses that as noise gate. That basically cuts off anytime you're not speaking. It basically cuts everything to dead space, just dead. You know what I'm saying?
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pace, said be patient.
And that does its job. It's really self-explanatory what the noise gate does, you know. So I'm not really gonna go into all of that. So my next steps are throwing in my reverbs and delays, and that's all down here. As you can see, I have my reverb. As you can see, I love the fat filters, so I have the fat filter reverb going on right here, and I like to use the gold plate, which is in a large gold plate. Sometimes I might use chapel 1 or 2, depending on what I'm recording. Like I said before, it's creating that space. So this is like the space I'm creating for the whole track. So I have space for certain specific vocals, and then I have space for my whole track, and this is what this is for. And then you have your delays, you have your short delays, you have your long delays, and all this is being sent to these aux tracks here. So you have your multi-chains. As you can see, I have these same plugins for damn near every single bus that I have. Just each one sounds different for my background vocals. It still has that same clarity, but I want my vocals to have a different. I want each vocal to kind of have its own set of frequency. Like I want it to be sitting in its own frequency, have its own kind of sound, so it kind of peaks out a little bit in the mix, but it doesn't do too much to where it's just like overpowering my main vocals. So as you can see, I have my hall. It's like negative 32. You don't need that much reverb, especially rapping vocals. You don't need that much reverb. You really don't need reverb at all, to be honest. But I like to use it for myself. It just, for my mixes, it just makes things sound better to me. And then I have my short and my long delay. Even though these are not named right, I should really rename these to short and long. But fuck it for right now. I know what it is, so you could actually name these anything you want. You could double right click and go to rename, and it would bring it up like that. And you can rename those any way you want. So once I have my delays and my reverb in,
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay.
and then I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add the verse in here so y'all can see how the verse comes in.
I just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space, yeah. I can't even call this shit a race, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay. Said be patient. Roll another blunt, I'm getting stuck in my ways. I need my space, I gave my hand, these niggas handed me shade. Yeah, 212 speakers in the back, up in black. If I ever get the chance, I gotta hit from the back.
So y'all see all that's going through this main vocal.
I just need my roll another blunt, I'm getting stuck in my, yeah. Roll another blunt, I gotta pay. Said be patient. Roll another blunt, I'm getting stuck in my ways. I need my space, I gave my hand, these niggas handed me shade. Yeah, 212 speakers in the back, up in black. If I ever get the chance, I gotta hit from the back. Wake up and thank God that I'm breathing. Everything that's promised has a season. Niggas cutting corners, that's deceiving. Reaching for the surface and the deep, just need my space, yeah. Roaming through the city like a space.
Alright, so that's main vocals for you guys. Next time I'm gonna go more in depth into background vocals, leveling out, because you see I got numbers everywhere, panning, what needs to be panned, what doesn't need to be panned. I could go all into that now, but today is not the day. I'm actually gonna go live again in a few on Twitch and on Facebook. I don't know which one's gonna come first. Probably more than likely Facebook and then Twitch. So my last platform today would be Twitch. So just check that out. All platforms are the same. You can check me out at Revfia Disapu. You don't know how to spell it. It's right there at the bottom. Also, check out the music. Got more tunes coming for y'all. This song is about to drop in a few weeks, hopefully, or I might drop something different. So you never know when it comes to me. I have a couple songs that's unreleased right now, so we're just going through the tracks and seeing which one y'all gonna fuck with the most. Also got more music videos coming, so be on the lookout for that. And I would catch y'all on the flip side. Thank you for tuning in with me, and I hope y'all have a great day.